This is ready to go. And we are live. Yay. So hello. Hello. If we have not met, my name is Ashley DePaulis. I am a trauma and movement specialist. And what does that mean? That means that I help women, high achieving women who exist in their minds most of the time, come fully alive in their bodies. So these women I speak of, and which I know very well from being one myself, often put work as the priority, whether that's their career, whether that's their sport, whether that's their healing. They put that at the forefront, and that happens at the expense of their body oftentimes and their life. So that's why I wanted to come in and talk to you today about the back and the hips and what it means when we have issues in those areas of our body, or what it could mean. It doesn't necessarily have to always mean this. Of course, there's strength, weakness, and flexibility, all the physical things we know about. But when we're not considering our emotions and how our emotions live in our body, because our body is not disconnected, even though you may feel it, our body is not disconnected from our experience, whether that's emotional, physical, mental. It is collecting all the information, even the information that you want to discard, that you want to repress or control or never think about again. So your experience is always happening in and through your body. If you've been, hello, Amy, it's good to see you. If you've been around for a while, you've probably heard me say that 100 times, and I'm going to keep saying it so it really sinks in. There simply is not an experience you're going to have, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, that you can keep a secret from your body. So just let that trickle in and land and feel it in your heart. I feel that in my heart right now. I'm not even thinking about it in my head. It is very much a truth of our body. It's a truth of trauma. And trauma, whether it's visible to us or invisible to us, it is emotion that gets stuck or lodged in the body. And so whether we recognize something as a trauma or not doesn't matter. It's still, if it's something that happens to us, a stressful situation that happens to us, and we don't allow our bodies to fully feel it, and there's a way to go through that process, then likely remnants of it or all of it will get stuck in the body somewhere. So when I talk about particular areas of the body, like the back or hips, that doesn't mean that certain traumas or certain emotions only go there. It's more to speak to the back and hips can be emotionally representative of these certain things, which I will get to. So we hold our emotions in our body unless we feel them. And tension, and we all know when we feel tense, or the parts of our body that feel tense. If you're somebody who tends to get knots in your neck, or tends to just feel like everything's always tight in your neck, or if you feel that in your abdomen or your chest or your back, or your legs. I used to hold a lot of tension in my legs. If you check in, you can recognize where that tension shows up. So tension is how the body holds trauma. And then stress, fear, anxiety, they trigger and intensify that tension that causes immobility. So we know that if you're somebody who's active, when you go to exercise, You might find it's easier on one side of the body than the other, or you have more range of motion on one side of the body or the other. So these are all physical representations of, yes, not only our strength and our flexibility, but also mentally and emotionally where we may have those imbalances as well, because we are a whole being. It's all working together. So when we can look at our body and our experience from these different perspectives, and we can tap into senses other than our rational mind or irrational mind, depending on the day or time of the day, then we can facilitate the movement of these emotions. We can facilitate the movement of the immobility or inflexibility that we are experiencing. So that's just a little background on why I'm here today talking about the back and hips specifically. Another reason I'm talking about it is because I've seen it across the board in women that I've worked with, and I've experienced this myself, but mostly in my hips versus my back. But I've broken my back without getting into that whole story. And I actually have metal in my back or steel in my back. So I don't have a lot of issues there. Yes, inflexibility, but I don't have like pain, so to speak. So anyways, across the board in women, I see issues with the back and the hips and their relationship to what I'm about to share. So the back emotionally is representative of support. So whether we feel supported or not supported. And I want to make note here that the experience I've seen across the board with women, that doesn't mean that there aren't people in your life who aren't supportive of you. It's how we're able to show up for ourselves in our life. Okay, it really has nothing to do with anyone else, even though we might want to put the blame or point the finger on them. So it's either feeling support or lack thereof is your back. And we could break that down, but we're not going to do that today. We're just going to keep this simple. So the back, support or lack thereof. Hips are fear of moving forward. So that's inflexibility, or you feel comfortable and stable moving forward or feel supported moving forward, and you are more flexible. So again, that can show up in the physical sense. And when we are feeling lack of support, when we are fearing moving forward, that shows up in, yes, inflexibility, instability. It can show up in lower back pain and tightness and tension there. It can show up as restricted movement in those areas. So like I was speaking to range of motion, that's restricted movement in those areas. Is there anything else? No. So how that shows up mentally is rigid thinking, trying to control the outcome of things. Like if I do X, this is the result I'm going to get. And these are the steps I'm going to take to get there. So like really controlling your experience and not opening up to other possibilities. Again, inflexible. My way is the right way. I can't even hear your way. So rigid, controlling, overthinking, self-doubt, judgment. And if you see yourself judging others or doubting others or trying to control how others are behaving, you're doing that to yourself. So that's the mirror back to you. That's how you know you're in this loop. Okay. In terms of what else did I want to say? When you are in a place of operating with flexibility, that shows up in unrestricted movement. You're not overthinking your next steps. You're not overthinking, like if you are somebody who is very physically active, you're not going into that movement like overthinking it or feeling scared about it or having fear about it. You're trusting your body to lead you. You're trusting the process for it to all unfold before you. And that means that you're compromising. You're able to compromise in life. You're able to see various perspectives and be inclusive of those. You're less or you are non-judgmental. So when you're in that space of openness, expansiveness, that is your experience versus when we are contracted or restricted or more rigid. Now, there's a place for both. One's not good, bad, right, or wrong. But when you are tipping the scales constantly in the direction of rigid, controlling, overthinking, then you're going to have a really hard time. And that's usually when the pain shows up, when the scales are tipped in one direction and you can't seem to shift out of that loop. Versus flow between the two. You're not in that sweet spot. The pendulum may swing in extremes from one to the other. And that's usually what I see when working with clients, that they have a really hard time getting in that sweet spot where there's still the pendulum swing between our experience of I feel a little bit more contracted or feel a little bit more expansive, but it's not as great of a swing. So you really want to find that sweet spot that you can move between both experiences, but not stay stuck in one, if that makes sense. So if that makes sense and you're listening to the replay or catching it live, just let me know in the comments. It's really about finding that spot for you and recognizing, being aware of where you are and the steps that you can take to shift, to feel, shift, and release, so that you don't end up in a loop of pain. You don't end up in a loop of fear and negativity and overthinking, because it's very easy to do that, especially in today's world. So a few steps that I can share with you today to take. First, really starting out with awareness with the different parts of the body that I brought into today's conversation, like recognizing, is that where I hold tension? Like I can tell you with my body, when I am holding a lot of tension, it usually shows up on my right side. More so than my left side. Not to say that I don't ever get tension there, but it's usually on my right side. So I have that awareness. So for you, what is that awareness? Is it your right side? Is it your left side? Is it both sides? Is it in your hips? Is it in your knees? Is it in your back? Is it in your shoulders, your ankles? So you can actually scan your body and see where you're holding this tension. You can take the breath. So instead of trying to figure it out in your head and rationalize and overthink it all, you can take your breath to that area of your body and just breathe into it. You can sit with it. A lot of times when we have pain and when we have tension, we want to like stretch it out. We want to force it. We want it to go away. Like it's always, when I talk to clients, it's like, I just want it to go away. And so there's this fight energy with it versus how can I be with it and shift it? That's really what your body is calling you towards. It's calling you to pay attention. It's calling you to go inward. It's not this, I want it to go away. How do I make it go away? Let me force it away. Okay. So bringing awareness to it, bringing breath to it. You can even bring a little soft movement to it, but nothing forceful or jarring. That's not what your body is asking for in that time. So those would be the first few steps to take. That is, I call that minding your energy. So when you notice your energy, because pain takes up so much more energy, fear takes up so much more energy. It's just more dense. It's a lower vibration in the energy field in which your body is. If anyone's ever said that to you before, your heart is an electromagnetic field. You are energy. You are putting out energy, whether you're physically thinking about it, doing it, or not. So it's a lower vibration versus a higher. And it's not about, again, jumping from one extreme to the other. It's about finding your perfect little sweet spot and moving within that. So minding your energy, slowing down enough to check in with your body where that tension is being held, noticing the thoughts that are coming up with that feeling in your body, and noticing the feelings that you might be having or what you might be ignoring. Usually that's the case. So what is it that you're ignoring or not paying attention to? And that can help you easily begin to make the shift in your body and in your experience. So if you would like a deeper dive into this, I am hosting a 3-week mini course called Reignite Your Energy, and it starts next Monday, August 24th. It is going to be so much fun because a big part of this is actually getting into your playful energy. So a lot of times when we're operating from this very serious, driven mind, we're not tapping into the part of us that likes to play and have fun, yet we long for that a lot. So it's about shifting the energy into a more playful, fun place, which I know can be hard to do if you are experiencing pain, but it is possible, I promise you. It's about dimming or shifting that scale from the anxiety, stress, fear to that more playful side so that you can play in both. It's not one or the other. It's and they're together. They work together. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can drop your favorite emoji in the comments and I will reach out with a link. But the link is also in my bio under Reignite Your Energy. You can just click there. All the details are there. We're going to be focusing on strength. So finding that support within the body, bringing awareness to it, finding support within the body. We'll be working with your energy system and seeing where you're being held back in your energy system and tapping into the energy systems that you may not be tapping into right now, so that you can experience a more vibrant and joyful, I call it aliveness. But when we shift also out of that fear and anxiety, it can, because I always say too, that underneath your pain is always your desire. So that allows us to actually see what your desires are and then put a plan together to take action towards those. So it gives you a broader focus of what you're doing in life, what you want to be experiencing in life versus just one little sliver of the pie that doesn't seem to be going well. So again, link in bio. We start next Monday. It's a nominal investment of $77 for 3 weeks. And then if you want to take a deeper dive beyond that, I will invite you in, but it is also not necessary because you will get a ton out of the 3 weeks, but it gives you an idea of what the process looks like to work with me, how it is fun, even though you are focusing on some things that might feel hard to focus on right now. But I can assure you, it'll all be better in the end. So I will be back with another live actually tomorrow, and we'll be talking about some other area of the body, possibly the shoulders. We'll see. All right, I'll see you. Bye for now.